How do you pronounce your last name, Garry?
Tibbo, T-I-B-B-O.
Okay, warrior of truth. And you teach all of nature, skills, eating?
Yeah, everything in nature eats by seasons.
Okay.
It eats local and right where it lives. So you never see a bird going for miles away from its house. It lands on the ground and eats. Deer don't go 50 miles away to eat. They eat around their local area. And people need to do this on a more regular basis because nature is teaching us, like I say on the DVD about me, everything in a 1 mile radius is what you need to survive from. It's all around you. The problem is society and education system has closed our eyes and our ears from looking and listening to what nature and everything around us is teaching us, how we can sustain ourselves just like they do. I mean, you don't see deer with medical officer bags, and I've never seen a bird carrying a juicer.
That's a good point. So people's digestive system, their immune system are pretty much all messed up and haywire these days.
Well, it's messed up by a combination of things that are put into foods. So I call them glucides. So you can look on almost any processed food packages processed, and you'll see glucides. So that's glucose and calcium oxides. So when you were a kid growing up, your grandmother or your mother would put white flour in a water bowl and a container trough, and she would run the wallpaper through it and put it on the wall. Now, when you tried to take that wallpaper off, it was so hard you had to use a blowtorch basically to burn it off. You couldn't scrape it off normally. So what's happening is the microvilli in your intestinal tract are being cemented shut so that 40 to 60% of your digestive system cannot absorb. So you start to create malnutrition, then that turns into blockages, then that turns into tumors, that becomes cancer and starts to spread through your body. So you're basically, through the food, you're actually killing yourself.
Wow.
And it's common sense. I mean, animals in the wild don't get cancers. It's only when we put them in a cage and feed them what we think they should eat.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting. What were you saying before about different blood parasites from?
Well, there's certain things that we shouldn't be eating. Like, I'm not a fan of eating pork because I see people that eat a lot of pork, they have a lot of parasites, no matter how it's cooked in their body. You can burn it black. I did experiments when I was in high school as a teenager where I pressure boiled a piece of pork in a mason jar, sterilized, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and I do the same with a piece of beef. And in 36 days, the worms would crawl out of the jar, inside the jar for the pork, and the beef would just grow blue hair. So some animals, because their digestive system is exactly the same as a human being, we should not be eating them because they're closest relatives to us, our DNA. The first heart transplant around the world was in South Africa. Dr. Bernard Jensen, he put a pig's heart in a human being because that's the closest DNA to us on Earth.
Wow.
People don't understand. They don't investigate and really go in and look at what is being done and why.
Is that why, like, maybe Muslims don't eat pork? Has that anything to do with it?
It goes back to the Old Testament. The Old Testament, the 5 books of Torah, the 5 law books, there was health laws to protect the population from actually dying off early. Good health laws. The Bible's got nothing to do with religion. It's the religious people making money from it.
Yeah.
The Bible was a health book. It's a historical document showing past, present, future, how history repeats itself, how societies fall apart by not following good holistic laws, which nature is all around teaching us. Animals and birds and everything else around us is always teaching us. Look, I study plants all the time. When you see bumblebees in a particular flower, they're not going there just because to pollinate that flower for their own benefit. They're pollinating that flower so it's going to reseed so they got only food for next year, but they're also teaching you that that's a medicine or a flower you can eat because they're not going to go to poisonous stuff. Yeah. They only go to stuff that you need. Right? It's part of the food supply.
Yeah. And now the gut controls our whole entire immune system, mostly?
It does. Well, our immune system is created from our gut. Just think about it. If you put bad fuel in your gas tank, how far do you think your car is going to get? If I throw water in mixed with the gas, or diesel fuel mixed in a gasoline car, it's going to sputter and go down the road and it's going to stall. So when you put toxic substance in your intestinal tract, foods that are not real foods, your digestive system has to work to remove that stuff. And then you feel drained of energy and you're tired. But when you eat real foods that are digestible, you always notice your gut feels good and you're energized.
Yes.
You sit down, sometimes you eat a meal, and about 20 minutes later, there's so much heat coming off your body, you start to sweat, because that's real energy being forced through your system. Where the next time you eat a meal and you're falling over asleep, passing out, well, the combination of food is actually toxifying you. It's making you not even functional.
Okay. So you teach all this stuff at your
Yeah, I teach this stuff at my farm, and I teach when people come and see me at my house too as well, when I do blood analysis for them. I teach them how they can learn that you're an individual snowflake and that this part of your body is always talking to you. 1/3 of your nervous system is here. 2/3 of your blood is here. Where does the blood have to be? It has to be where it's going to absorb nutrients. That's why it's here. When people breathe, for example, they always breathe in their chest. They shouldn't be. They should be breathing in their diaphragm. We're the only creature on earth that breathes in our chest instead of our diaphragm. Our diaphragm, when we breathe down here, we actually make the whole system work. All nature, all of animals, everything breathes in their lower belly. Watch a dog laying down, a cat, deer, anything. They breathe here. They don't breathe in their chest.
Wow. This is very interesting stuff.
Being Aboriginal, I had some good teachers. You know what I tell people all the time when they say I don't look Aboriginal? I say, you know, the elders say a spruce tree doesn't care that a birch tree is growing beside it. Their job is to hold the soil together. Right? Your fingers on your hand work the way all people should work, together, right?
Absolutely.
Your fingers are all different, unique size, shape, ability, weakness, strength, looks, right? You don't hate one of them because they're different. And you wouldn't cut them off.
Good point. So you also publish a book?
Yes.
It's,
5 Weeds, 5 Trees, 5 Tools, Way to Self-Sufficiency and Good Health. And there's a movie made about me called Free Living 101. I don't have any copies here because I sold them all.
now, is there a way for anyone to order this online?
Yeah, they can just go to my website, GarryTibbo.com.
Excellent. Thank you, Garry.
You're very